It's not that the dog is the problem. It's that the dog hasn't yet had the right handler, the right environment, or the right consistent leadership to bring out a different behavior. That's exactly what happened to Chips. Chips was the local menace. His family was threatened with having him taken away. Instead, they signed him up for the army. Did you know Chips became the most decorated war dog of World War II? His recognition was so significant, it forced the U.S. military to take an official position that not everyone agreed with. Welcome to Wholesome TV Picks. I'm your host, Jennifer Avila, and this is the only podcast where every recommendation is backed by 35 plus years of watching all the good stuff, so you don't waste another night on the wrong pick. Let's get into today's episode. Chips the War Dog is a Disney family film that was released in 1989 and is based on a true story. The main star is Chips, a young German Shepherd who likes to chase his neighbor's chickens, so much so that the neighbor wants to shoot the dog. And he does have the law enforcement on his side because the family has been warned about Chips getting out again and again, despite the neighbor's promise to never let it happen again. Somehow, Chips, the escape artist, manages to get out every single time. Law enforcement threatens to remove Chips if the family doesn't get the situation under control. So when the family sees a public service announcement from the military requesting families to volunteer their healthy dogs to the War Department for a new Dogs for Defense program, Chips' owners, the Hastings family, immediately say, "Hey, that sounds like Chips." They volunteered Chips, and after a preliminary approval of being fit to join the Dogs for Defense program, Chips is shipped off to Front Royal, Virginia, in order to undergo further training. We're also introduced to Danny, who joins the Army and has no idea he's going to be signed up for the Dogs for Defense program. Danny does not like dogs, and dogs don't like him. But his life is about to be forever changed when he is teamed up with Chips by chance. What follows is a beautiful friendship between Danny and Chips that changes both of their lives for the better. When Danny is teamed up with a dog to train for the program, he gets dogs that don't quite work out. And a bully in the group named Mitch, who really picks on Danny a lot. They don't like each other. And during one exercise where the dog trainer is telling the soldiers to throw their balls and have their dogs fetch and bring them back, Mitch threatens Chips, throws the ball, and Chips takes off. So Danny and Mitch use a truck to go after Chips, who they find hiding under another Army vehicle. Mitch is livid and screaming at the top of his lungs, "Chips, get out here right now. You're not going to make a fool of me." But Danny goes on the other side of the truck, and Danny gets a snack from his pocket and says, "Chips, Chips, come on, Chips." And Chips comes out from under the truck and goes to Danny and begins licking him on the face. That's the first moment Danny has had a positive experience with a dog. And that is the beginning of their friendship. However, because Chips has been washed out of the program, Danny disobeys orders and hides him so that he doesn't end up on the pound truck. And then secretly, Danny begins training Chips. Another great thing that this movie shows is the way two people can start off as enemies or not liking each other and still do a job together and maybe even eventually become friends. As I said, Mitch really picks on Danny a lot. But when it comes time to do this demonstration, there's something that happens in the movie that leads Mitch and Danny as the only two soldiers who can save the dog program. And Mitch and Danny have to come together despite their differences. And they do, and they get the job done. Towards the end of the movie, they're friends. The military theme of this movie is going to show your child hard work, determination, and compassion. Danny works really hard to get Chips ready for war. And Chips works hard too. We all know dogs are so smart, and they work hard when they have a job. And they do that job to the best of their ability. There's one scene in the movie that shows this beautifully. Chips is in battle. Danny tells him to stay, to go after, to try to stop the gunmen from behind them from firing at them. There are war scenes in the movie, But we're not talking Saving Private Ryan. This is a Disney movie, so they're very softened, but it does give a good representation to kids about what war is like. And I do remind my children that actual war is nothing compared to the movies that represent war. This movie's not gory. There's no cursing. There's no agenda. There's nothing in this movie that is inappropriate for children. There is one kiss between Danny and a woman soldier, but it's really fast. I mean, it's just a goodbye kiss before he ships off to war. Then when the war's over, all the dogs get shipped back home. Some go to the pound. Chips, thankfully, was welcomed back home with open arms. Even the neighbor who didn't like Chips welcomes Chips home because he's made the news as being a dog that was awarded so many medals, the Purple Heart, the Silver Star, and the Medal of Freedom. But because of this attention, it causes the War Department to take notice and change policy. And that change was that medals could not be bestowed upon animals, basically because they felt it cheapened their worth. The first lesson that I pick up on this film is how the Hastings family immediately take responsibility for Chips's bad behavior. They don't come up with excuses, they try their best to fix the problem. This is something that is surely missing in society today. How do I know? Because I have been sandwiched between two very irresponsible dog owners. I see families that make excuses for their animals' behavior. They don't do anything to fix the problem. And I really appreciate a film like Chips the War Dog that actually shows families taking responsibility for their dog. The real Chips was a German Shepherd Collie Husky mix from Pleasantville, New York. And from what I've read, the Dogs for Defense program put out a call for families to volunteer their dogs after Pearl Harbor. You see all the different personalities and quirks that the dogs have in the program and the patience that the soldiers have to have in order to train these animals for the program. Additionally, Chips was one of 3 dogs selected for a special assignment to guard Roosevelt and Churchill at a conference in Casablanca in 1943. Congress spent 3 months debating whether a dog deserved medals, and the result was they classified military dogs as equipment, equivalent to a tent or a rifle. Chips was posthumously awarded the Dickin Medal, which is the highest honor any animal can receive at the Churchill War Rooms in London. Chips's owner, John Wren, portrayed as the Hastings in the film, attended this ceremony when he was 76 years old, and he is quoted as saying, "They didn't like the fact that he'd gotten medals, so it really made me feel great to see him finally receive some recognition as a special creature, which in our view he was." And in 2000, Robbie's Law passed requiring retired military dogs be available for adoption. Training is hard. And since I promised my husband this will be our final dog, my goal was to gain as many titles from the AKC as possible with my dog. My first one was the CGC, which stands for Canine Good Citizen. When I saw the other titles for more advanced CGC titles, I trained even harder for those. So my dog has a Canine Good Citizen, Urban Canine Good Citizen, and the Community Canine Good Citizen titles, which are basically like the beginning level, middle level, and advanced Canine Good Citizen levels. And it just made all the hours, days, months, and years of working with her so worth it. Now I get to enjoy a dog that is so well trained that I can take everywhere. You know the time and patience that goes into training a dog. I've had dogs my whole life, but I have never put in the time and effort as I have with my collie. And it makes me regret all the previous dogs I've had where I didn't give them the exact same leadership or attention. Chips the War Dog is a family-friendly movie to sit down and watch with your children. It's appropriate for all ages, but story-wise, it's probably better for maybe ages 8 and up. No cursing, no graphic violence. And it's a funny movie that your children will absolutely love. And who doesn't like a good dog movie? And if you love German Shepherds, this is a great movie to perfectly show why that breed is the favorite breed for so many families in the world. If you enjoyed this content, would you do me a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review? It really helps grow the show, and it helps other families find wholesome content that they can enjoy with their families. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your week. Remember, your values matter and your TV should too. Take care.